Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm going to be a bit cheeky because there's people spread out all over. Can we kind of like just come closer, inshallah ta'ala? It feels a bit too airy in this room, and I just want to bring everyone closer and make the brother kind of firm. So everyone can kind of come closer, it will be khair, inshallah. May Allah bless you, brothers. Come on, I can see you lot chilling at the back. Come. All you lot on that strip wall there, come forward. Bismillah. Not going to bite. And can everyone see the screen? Yeah? Alright, so my name is Abdul Karim. I think I've been here like 2 or 3 times before. I do a bit of poetry, and my profession, my background is I'm a youth worker. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed me to work in a space where I get to do youth work at a very specialist level. So you've got a generic youth worker who might have a youth club, and they may play table tennis and pool and help you with your, some of the issues that you may face and help your family, and have it's called generic youth work. The youth work I do is very specialist around serious youth violence and community violence. Some of the things that I deal with and that I have to address on a day-to-day basis is young people who have been shot, stabbed, raped, or sexually exploited. Now, for some of you that might be an everyday occurrence, but for me, it's an everyday occurrence on a very serious level where I get to see the intricate lives that many young people live. I get to see the ins and outs of people's families, their friends, and also the professional networks around them. And it's a very difficult task. What I'm going to screen now, I started before I did this work. But what I realized was that in our community, and this is addressing the elders, the men, there's a lack of youth resources in the Muslim community. And this documentary that I've put together, alhamdulillah, I try to contact who I believe are some of the people who are on the front lines working Muslims in England. So we have people from London, Birmingham, Bradford, and some of the brothers who are on their travel to other areas like Sheffield and stuff of that nature. We have youth workers, doctors, frontline youth workers and young people on this documentary. So I'm going to screen it, and then I'm going to give you a little background of why I done it, inshallah ta'ala.
People, they don't know what Islam is. They just see a newspaper article or a news program about it, and that's the Islam. When I first became Muslim, my mum thought I'd become a terrorist, and my dad was idiot, so
It's hard being young today in British society. But it's even harder being young, British and Muslim.
The young people are our future. If we do not correct them now, we will have no future. But if you're not actually putting nothing in their hand or proper direction, then it's very hard for them to change.
I get the calls from quote-unquote practicing multazim families whose children are caught up in the game.
Muslim communities, the masajids need to understand that we need to utilize those spaces, because there's no spaces in the community no more. Young Muslims are now in bookies. Young Muslims are now standing up in places where they shouldn't be standing up.
A man on the road is selling drugs with this, that and the other, who's in a gang. He doesn't feel like he can go to him and speak to him. My sister who's having problems with like wearing hijab and wanting to get out the raving and club and get rid of this boyfriend. The man is not someone like he should be, that they feel like a friend that they feel that they can go to and get real advice for a real situation.
New culture of, well, I'm on road and I'm on deen, not understanding that it's oil and water.
The young people I've had to challenge and say to them, 12-year-olds do shootings. Shooting is a shooting, you go to jail.
We don't think of the word wisdom with youth, but youth have wisdom.
We need a support system within this religion to help these youth, because they're coming to this religion, they're calling for this religion, but they're getting rejected by this same religion, not the religion, but the people.
If you look at the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way he used to deal with young people, how he always used to have the young children around him. He wasn't an individual who used to shun young people. He used to listen to them. He used to take time with them.
Young people are celebrated throughout the Quran. as leaders, as role models, as people who have given guidance to humanity.
And we can look through Islamic history and find many other examples of young people making a significant impact based upon their understanding and practice of Islam.
Islam and the Muslim youth are here to add value to this society, but not at the cost of our deen.
So yeah, that documentary there took me about 2 years to put it to effect, alhamdulillah. And I've had a lot of challenges trying to put it together in terms of finding resources, time, effort, connecting with some of the professionals there and some of the brothers there who not from London. So it took a lot of effort, but I can happily say I'm comfortable with the final product, what it's turning into, alhamdulillah, with the editing process and some of the information that all of these frontline professionals have come together and their ideas, what they're seeing in terms of working with young Muslims up and down England. And for me, I want to bring this around the country, because unfortunately, there aren't many masajid like this one here, where your elders are connected with you and try their best to try and help the shabab or the young people of your community. I found that there are some masajid or some communities where they're very orthodox in, they're saying the youth need to be like us, and if they're not, then we'll forget about them. And then that opens the door for everything to attack the young people. So alhamdulillah, the documentary, I'm happy with where it's going. It's not finished yet, but we're nearly in the final stages of the documentary. And what I want to do is ask, and I've spoken to some of the brothers here, but ask if there's anybody here who wants to support this documentary, because I need to take this documentary as far and wide as possible in this country. As I said, the role that I sit in, I see people, I see families who, had they had the information maybe some of this documentary could provide, it would have alleviated a lot of issues by last decree. Issues around honor-based violence, issues around understanding your children. And some of the young brothers here may have issues in terms of communicating with your parents. And you see that there's a gap between the understanding of your parents and the life that you're living. And inshallah ta'ala, I'm hoping that this documentary will inspire mothers, inspire fathers, inspire more people in the community to become youth workers and work with their young people. So if there's anybody at the end of this documentary that it wants to sit down and understand how they can support me on it, then at the end of this session, inshallah ta'ala, I would appreciate if you can come and talk to me privately. I'll take your contact details, and you can help me push this documentary. And as I said, I need the help of the Muslim community to push it so that things can happen. I work with Christian organizations, mashallah tabarakallah, they're helping Muslims and non-Muslims. I work with Jewish organizations, they're helping Muslims and non-Muslims, but the initial core of what they're doing is based upon Christianity or Judaism or no religion. But in terms of Muslim youth work, a structured organization, I'm struggling to find them, who do real youth work, and for me it's a bit of a problem. So I'm hoping that this could kind of spawn, a birth of Muslim youth work within the country. And just one of the facts that we found out is that £1 spent in youth work, £1 spent in youth work saves £8 in crisis intervention. Now what does that mean? I work in crisis intervention. So when someone's being seriously injured, the NHS has to get paid, doctors have to get paid, police officers have to get paid, youth workers have to get paid, families sometimes have to pay money out depending on their circumstance. There's so much money that is spent because the word we're looking for is the preventative work hasn't happened in communities or in families. And I'm trying to push that narrative, and we need to do more preventative work so we can save, the massive spend. And unfortunately, our community, the Muslim youth, are a target right now in terms of the powers that be. They're using certain agendas to target Muslim youth. I know that's unfortunate, but that's the society that we live in. And in terms of us having a counter narrative, it is possible, but we need to work together, inshallah. So as I said, at the end of this program, if anybody's willing to help me, understand how I'm going to push this forward, then we can have a conversation afterwards. I'd like to invite my brother Adnan to the front, inshallah, who's going to have a bit of a talk with you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ajma'een. Wa man tahbiyahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Barakallahu feekum, Brother Abdul Karim, for bringing me through to Masjid Bilal. It's a beautiful masjid, first of all. When I came in there, it's a beautiful masjid. It's in a beautiful area, and for all the brothers that are attending, I just like to say that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you under the people under His shade on a day when there's no shade, because we all know the famous hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's not people that the youth that you spent their time in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they'll be under the shade. So let's use our youth to try and do the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The brother told me he wants me to talk about the reality of the streets. This topic which we're going to go into is a very touchy topic. So for the older men that might not understand this, I am giving you a proper insight on what is actually going on. Because maybe you might not be aware of what's actually going on, but there's a lot actually going on outside of the masajid. So sometimes parents, they tell their children, go to madrasa, pray, read Quran, and they're very onto them. But they don't actually understand what's going on outside of this. And that's very important that we know and we're aware of our surroundings. So first off, I just like to say my name's Adnan. I'm from South London. I grew up there. Originally, my family from Jamaica. Where we came from, there was no Islam. There was no Islam. There was no Islam. We was all jahil to Islam. And Islam, it came to South London in about 2004-5. It came to South London, and a lot of people reverted to Islam. And it was a big change. A lot of people's lives changed after that. Because a lot of people came from broken homes. And this is where usually most of the roughness and toughness starts from the home. So, as a Muslim, and this is out to the parents, you have to be understanding of what your child is going through outside of this masajid and on the streets, what they're going through. The first fitna that most of you lot are going to face is going to be the fitna of women. Everyone suffers from it. That's the first fitna. When you're on the streets, you see a lot of women, especially in this country, you're going to see a lot. So my advice to all the youth, if you have the money and you have the means, then get married. That's my advice to you, personally. Also, another fitna that's going to come to the brothers is the music. And this topic is such a big topic that I will not have enough time to explain it to you. But I will give you a few reasons on why the music is evil. When we were younger, we used to listen to the music and we used to actually believe everything inside of it. So this guy says he jumps out of cars, he stabs people, 4-door truck, 5 doors, 6 guns, everything. We believed in this. We believed this stuff. So while us believing it, we would act out on what this guy's doing. But as I grew older, I found that it was all lies and it was just entertainment. But this entertainment, it only leads to evil upon evil upon evil. Now there's some people that might say there's something called halal music. Wallahi, there's no such thing as halal music. If you hear someone say this to you, know that person is upon misguidance. Anyone who says to you there's halal music, there's no such thing as halal music. There's poetry, but there's not such a thing as halal music, where we start taking songs that the disbelievers have and then start remixing them and saying that's Islam. That's not Islam. That's a whole nother chapter. So the music was one of the biggest fitness for us, because we used to believe in it and believe that what it does now. Now what I see with many of the youth, Muslims as well, they get into this culture of music, and music comes with an identity. So if you're rapping about, yeah, I stab people, I kill people, I shoot people, one day it's gonna come, push is gonna come to shove. So all this stuff you're rapping about, you're gonna have to live it. And this is where we came from. And this is why when we used to do music, we had expectations that we had to live up to, you know. You're talking about this life so much, now you have to be about it. Now it's crunch time, I've got a knife in my hand, this guy's coming to me, I have to stab him. I've been talking about it for the last 3 months. All I've been talking about is stab, 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 dip, dips, poke, poke. Now I have to do it. This is it. I want you lot to realize that in the prison population right now, there's a lot of people's names called Abdul, Karim, Muhammad, They said that, I think 8 out of 7 out of 10 prisoners in prison right now are Muslim. So what is it that's happening? What is it that's going wrong? Someone give me the answer here. I want someone here to give me the answer. What is it that's affecting the youth that are going to prison?
The lack of deen.
The lack of deen. The lack of knowledge. But who's that knowledge coming from? Should the child wake up and automatically have knowledge? Who's the one who nurtures the child?
Parents.
The parents. Okay, what are the parents nurturing the child upon? Read Quran. But I don't know what's in it, Dad. I've read it for 20 years and I couldn't tell you what Surah Fil is. A child has got to the age of 16 years old. He's been reading Quran since he was 6 and he can't tell you what Surah Fil is about. One of the most exciting stories you can teach a kid. You know how exciting that story is when you teach a kid? There was a big elephant. He tried to come to the Kaaba. He couldn't make it. Stones came down from the sky, killed everyone. Kids like, wow. Instead of him watching Peppa Pig and all these other stories, what's this? So what I'm saying to you is sometimes the blame is a lot upon the parents and what we're nurturing our children. Starting with the TV in the household. We have TVs in the household and they raise our children sometimes. Because we don't have time, we're always working. Dad, can I spend some time? Yeah, I'm working, son. Just go pray. You know you need to pray. Have you prayed today? Dad, I'm feeling a little bit sick. Pray. Make sure you pray. You're just beating him for prayer. But he doesn't tell him why is he praying. Son, let's pray together so that we can go to Jannah, so that we can fly on birds. We can fly on birds? We can do anything we like, son. La ilaha illallah. That's encouragement. That's encouragement. Instead, he looks up to who? While you're always working, Dad, and this is to you fathers, while you're always working, son starts listening to music because you left him in front of that TV and that computer. So now he's on YouTube. And you know YouTube, very evil thing. Even if you're looking for deen. That's, you know, I take what I want from YouTube, I put it on something and I leave the YouTube alone. Because what happens is, even if you go to an advert, I'm like, what's this? I didn't sign up for this. I'm looking for Sheikh Uthaymeen. What's this coming up? Why is this ad 5 seconds, 8 seconds? It's giving me 8 seconds of evil to my ears. That's 8 seconds of corruption. Could you imagine a child now that's just learning how to speak, learning everything about life? When he hears this music and it goes inside their head, it goes straight to their brain cells and it automatically destroys them. So be careful of the YouTube and be careful of listening to music, my brothers, because when that disease starts in your heart, it might seem something small, but it will grow and grow and grow until you want to actualize the music. Another thing which about the streets is the crime and the knife crime. The knife crime. You know, where we came from, and myself, I'm speaking for myself especially, we came from an era where there was a lot of stabbings. And stabbings now, but back in, there was a lot of stabbings, a lot of gang culture. And the gang culture came from, mainly people came from broken homes. This is the truth. We never had no foundation, or we never had no one telling us anything good. Anything everybody told us was evil. I just remember all of the older people telling me evil stuff, or trying to fill up my head of evil. All I remember was evil. I don't remember any good. I remember one time one said, oh, you lot are going too much in the area, you need to calm down. But he only said that to us because he was selling drugs and there was too much police in the area, so he couldn't sell his drugs anymore. But he didn't really care about us. He just told us to calm down because he didn't want us to do any more evil. There was no one influencing the youth or telling the youth, brother, come to the masjid. Now that we're all Muslims, it's changed, alhamdulillah. But that culture and that lifestyle, it didn't bring anything but pain, misery, hate, heartache and jail. And a lot of you kids, I want you to remember that the people that are suffering the most when anyone goes to prison is going to be your mum and your father. They're going to suffer the most. And they're going to suffer in silence as well, because when they do come and visit you, or they do see you in that position for stabbing that person and doing 23 years, and then you look back and all them friends that you did it for, not one of them write you a letter. As a matter of fact, they will be trying to sleep with your sister by next week. And this is the reality of what the streets lead to, and this is not a joke. So all them people that you done all that thing, all of that crime with, and yeah, he's my friend, I'm going to back him. Sometimes, I tell the youth, listen to your parents sometimes when they tell you your friends are not good. Because sometimes they can see things that you can't. So try and listen to your parents as much as possible. Once it's in the obedience of Allah. If it goes in against the obedience of Allah, then you leave their speech to one side. So the knife crime and the stabbings, it usually came from people wanting to, it came from people from broken homes, like I said to you. A lot of people came from broken homes. You know, when I actually think about it, a lot of my friends' mums on my estate were either crackheads. Crackhead is someone who takes drugs. Just for people who don't know, they take drugs. So their mums or dads, and their dads was nowhere to be found, literally. There was no such thing as a father. I've never met certain people's dad to this day. I think I just met someone's dad like 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Saw his dad, I was like, oh yeah, he's like, it's my dad. I'm like, oh yeah. I was with you since about 13 years old and never saw your dad. So there was no such thing as a father figure in their lives. And that played a big role in the youth's lives and the girls' lives as well, because there was girls involved in gangs as well. Also, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was drugs. Drugs. How much drugs destroys a community. Now, you know, some people, they have this evil mindset that I'm going to sell drugs to the kuffar, but I'm not going to take it. There's an evil mindset. I've met people like this in East London as well. When I was not Muslim, there was a lot of people in East London. They had beards and they were Asian. And I remember they used to sell a lot of drugs to me. Yeah, they used to sell a lot of drugs to me. And I knew they were Muslim now, because now I'm clocking back, their names were different. Their names were different, like Adam. And I'd be like, why is your name not Adam? Why is it Adam? And like other names like Abdul Karim and like lots of Abdul names. I just remember a lot of Abdul names, but I never really thought anything of it. In my mind, it's just like, oh, AB, yeah? Alright, no problem, AB. So now I know that the person was a Muslim and he was selling drugs. And maybe he was selling drugs to me because he thought, oh, look at this non-Muslim, he's going to sell him drugs. But he didn't know that that same drugs that you gave me, I brought it back to an estate and sold it to other people that corrupted them and made them do more crime. And it led to more people's families being more broken. So the effect of selling drugs is that it affects every single person in the community. So if one person in this room is taking drugs right now, don't say, oh, that brother's a druggie, or oh, look at him, he's like this. That effect there could affect you in a few years. Because that person could either want to marry your sister now, when he's clean, and what you're gonna say, oh, he's an ex-crackhead. You can't marry into our family. This is what people are gonna say, yes or no? The majority of people are gonna say that against him. So, and even now, with that drugs, he might even take a handbag from your mother. You might see your mum with a handbag and say, I'm hungry, I need food, and grab a handbag. So, drugs affects everybody. That's why the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, cursed is everyone, even the one who delivers it is cursed. The one who brings it is cursed. The one who sells it is cursed. Everyone's cursed. That's why when you go to certain people's shops and they're selling alcohol in it, know that there's no barakah in that shop. Even if all his business is halal, the means that he got to make it halal, if he's selling alcohol and cigarettes, even if he says, I'm not selling it to Muslims, I'm not selling it to the disbelievers. No, you selling it in general is haram, it's cursed. The person, the one who's even making it, not even the one who's doing it, the person who's stepping on them grapes with the intention that this is going to turn into wine, that person, what he's doing, he's cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everyone who's involved in that drug sale. So even if you're the middleman in that drug sale, you're not even the person who took the drug. So say someone phones you and says, yeah, can you get me an eighth? And you're like, no, not really, but I think that Abdi's got it still. Phone Abdi, innit? See what you've just done? You just become a corrupter. Every single pull that person takes, that's a sin going on your scales as well, because you're the one who directed them to evil. And the same way that can happen is the same way if you directed him to good, to khair, then you would have got the good. So sometimes we have to stand up as Muslims and say no to the drugs. And if we eradicate the drugs in our own communities, it will affect everybody in the whole community. Because as Muslims, we shouldn't be so thingy-minded that, yeah, I'm only looking out for the Muslims. We have to look out for the whole of the society and people. Because our children are in this society are gonna be with them other people, with the people that are disbelievers. So if we leave them to be corrupted, they're gonna corrupt our children eventually. And so I'm telling you 100%. That's why some people and parents as well, when another person from another culture wants to marry into a culture, for instance, say a Somali wants to marry into an Asian family. It's a big thing. People are going to say, I'm not sure. And the reason being is because a lot of us are into culture, so we would rather put this forward before we put the deen forward. But the Prophet ﷺ told us why we should marry people. And there's 4 reasons. Who knows the 4 reasons why you should marry? 4. There's 4 reasons why someone should get married. For the deen, the beauty, lineage, and wealth. Which one did the Prophet ﷺ say you're going to be successful? He said, marry for the deen and you'll be successful. So if a man comes to us, we shouldn't automatically just write him off and say, you know what? No. Because what happens is, as a community of people, and Muslim is not to a culture or a tribe. Muslim is every color. And I'm going to leave with telling you a story. There was a Sahaba, and his name was Bilal, radiallahu anhu. Maybe we all know who Bilal is. Everyone knows who Bilal is, yes? I'm pretty sure everyone knows. Even you look, you know who Bilal is? Don't worry, your dad's going to teach you tonight, inshallah. He's going to teach you who Bilal is. It's very good for all of our parents, whether you're black, Asian, Somali, whatever, to learn the story of Bilal. Because the story of Bilal is one of the most beautifulest stories in Islam. His whole story, his whole thing, even to when he died, it was one of the most amazing stories. The Prophet ﷺ said about him, I heard your footsteps in Jannah. La ilaha illallah. Imagine the Prophet said this to you. How would you feel? This is a big thing. It's not anybody the Prophet ﷺ said this to. He said, every time I go to the toilet, I make wudu. That's it, and pray 2 rakats. That's what he done all the time. And that's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said, I heard your footsteps. Also, he was the first person to call the adhan. Every day we heard the adhan 5 times a day. The first person to do it was Bilal. First person. So, Bilal. There's a story of Bilal. Who did Bilal marry? Does anyone know? These things we have to know, you know, as Muslims. Who did Bilal marry? Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Ah. Who's Abdul Rahman ibn Auf? Huh?
Clarify, you said he married Abdul Rahman ibn Auf.
No, his sister. Okay. He said sister. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf's sister. Who is he? He just any Sahaba? He was one of the 10 promised Jannah. La ilaha illallah. He married his sister. Bilal, black man from Habish that was a slave. They got freed. They got beaten by the Quraysh and oppressed. He married who? Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, he came from one of the most noblest tribes in the Quraysh. Who knows about Arab culture and about how they think? Arab culture is very, very deep. They have very strong lineage. They love to know who Ibn. If there's no in their lineage, there's no cuts. They need to know who the person is. Ibn Auf, Ibn Hashim, Ibn Muhammad, they have to know. It's a very, if you don't know your lineage, it's like, no, you're not one of us. Right, you're not an Arab. You don't know your lineage. At least 10 generations you have to know your lineage. And this is no joke. You have to know your dad's. If you don't know, then they look at you funny if you don't know this. The proper deep Arabs, they know their lineage proper very well. That's why some people will say, my lineage goes back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahu alam, Allah knows best. But they can go very far back. They can go very far back. So, he was from one of the most noblest tribes. And his sister married Bilal. So what did that show us? Why did he marry his sister to Bilal? Why was that? Nothing else except for the deen, my brothers. And there was actually like more than that as well. It's a very beautiful story. I'd advise everyone to go and look up that story. It's a very beautiful story. So, in conclusion, what I wanted to come in and say to the brothers is, you know, the street life and what it leads to is nothing but regret, pain, you know, prison, your family stressed. You know, I have friends that are dead right now. I have a lot of friends that are dead. I was actually thinking about it today, about a lot of dead friends that I know. And they died in some ways that it's sad, because you would have never thought that person, he was a good person in general. You would have thought other people would have died, and they died. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of you people, a lot of you kids, you might think, oh yeah, it's a joke. we're just going to rob someone, or we're going to play a game, or we're going to beat up someone. But you don't know what other people are thinking, and they just pull out a knife and just stab you and kill you. Then your mum and dad's depressed for the rest of their lives, just because of an action that you done. So just think, before you do anything stupid, just think about the consequences. You know, a lot of us don't tell the youth, think about the consequences. Think 5 years from now, what is this action going to lead me to? Because I know people that are still looking to kill some people because of certain actions that they done 10 years ago. They're still looking for them. And if they see them, it's not a game. They're going to do whatever they want to do to get revenge. So my advice to the brothers is try your hardest to think before you do anything. You know, think long and hard about it. Think, what would the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahabas do in this situation? Because it's easy to get angry. Anyone can get angry. Anyone can pick up a knife. I'm telling you, it doesn't take a big man or a hard man to pick up a knife. There's a lot of people in jail right now that I've seen. I've met them through my youth work that I do, in prison, and they're like, I didn't mean to stab him. But the thing is, if you pick up a knife and you carry it out your house, your intention, I believe your intention is already to kill someone. The reason being is because you got it on you. Do you understand? So the first step is just don't even take it outside. Don't take weapons outside, personally. But then, on this other hand, I can't say that to you because then maybe you don't have the knife and someone kills you. So it's like a double-edged sword. The best thing to do, my brothers, is to practice Islam and stay upon the Quran and the Sunnah. This is the best thing you can do and the most noblest thing you can do. And if you stick upon the Quran and the Sunnah, Allah will change your life. A lot of brothers might be in a situation where they believe that there's no way out. There's always a way out. There's always a way out of everything that you're doing. It's just for us to take the steps and the means to do that. And I'm a living example of that. You know, some people said they thought I was going to be dead by 18 years old. And I lived a long time after 18, so alhamdulillah, the fadl is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, we have to think about actions that we do and the consequences that they're going to bring. Not just upon us, but upon the community. For instance, a brother, he read a lot of Quran and he was a hafiz in this masjid. And we loved him, you lot all loved him. And then one day you saw him smoking drugs or doing something evil. What was the first thing you'd think of him? You wouldn't remember the Quran, you just remember him for the evil that he's doing. So this is why it's good that all of us in this room, and this is an advice to myself, we hide our sins to the best of our abilities. And we hide each other's sins to the best of our abilities. And we don't expose each other's sins. Because in exposing sins affects the community. For instance, you go around cussing your dad said, oh, my dad doesn't even pray Fajr in the masjid. Now everybody that sees your dad now is going to think, look at this man. He preaches a lot, but he doesn't pray Fajr in the masjid. Like, we don't have no respect for him. And they lose respect for him. So the Prophet ﷺ said, he is not from us. He is not from us. He is not from us. The one who does not have respect for the elders and does not show mercy to the youth. So if you look at this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was balanced with his approach. He advised the elders and he also advised the youth. And he first advised the youth first. He said, respect the elders. Nowadays, this is something that we don't see outside of the masajid and outside of Islam. Islam brings that. But any other culture, it leaves that off. The street life doesn't have no respect for elders. I've heard these kids talk about dead people, all sorts. They say some very nasty things nowadays. They have no respect for elders or anyone. And the youth, and for the elders, have mercy towards the youngsters. Don't always beat them and be quick to beat them. And I don't believe that beating is correct. I don't think beating ever makes anything correct of a child. That's my personal, I don't think it does anything. Because I was beaten and it just made me worse. I just got angrier and angrier, and I go to school and I just beat kids up. So it didn't do any good to me. I just fight kids in school every day. And no one would understand why I'm always fighting. But at home I was getting some hard licks. Because when you come from Jamaican culture, our parents are very like, that bamboo stick in the house and it hits your back. Yeah, you remember it for a few days. So what I'm saying is, alhamdulillah, Allah guided all of you to Islam. And many of you in here, you're born Muslims. I have more respect for you than myself because I never knew Islam. All my life I was living in a bubble. This is life, this is all life is. We're gonna make money, get girls, yeah, go raving, yeah. That's all I knew. I never knew anything about Islam, about the Sahabas, about prayer, Qiyam al-Layl, Tarawih. I didn't know nothing about this. Fasting. Madness. Go 1 month without fasting. I didn't hear anything about this. And you was raised upon it. So for you, you are the examples. You, everyone in this room, you're the future. You're all the future in this room. So remember that. And I just like to say before I finish, I love you all for the sake of Allah. I love all of you for the sake of Allah. And I want all of us at the end, if we don't know someone's name that we've been praying next to, I want us to find out each other's names and give them a salam and a hug. I know it might sound small, but you know, good deeds lead to Jannah. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Adnan. I'm going to begin my talk now, inshallah ta'ala. What do the streets really look like? And the angle that I'm going to come from, that I normally come from, is the angle of a youth worker. The angle which a specialist youth worker like myself sees, and the pain and anguish that I feel in my heart on a habitual basis when I see young Muslims come through the door for particular issues. Okay, so let me give you a case study. There was a young brother, may Allah bless him right now. He came into the hospital with a serious injury. I didn't know he was in the hospital. And my colleague, she's a non-Muslim girl, female, she came downstairs, she goes, Abdul Karim, there's a guy upstairs, he just got some bad news. But what's beating him up more is that he said it's a punishment from Allah because he hasn't fasted in Ramadan. I don't understand, it doesn't make any sense. How can this injury be a punishment from Allah? And in my head I'm like, subhanAllah, the brother, it's Ramadan, I'm like, subhanAllah, the brother's not fasting, la ilaha illallah. But what I recognized was that the brother recognized his sins, you know? And the issue he was diagnosed with is that he had issues because he was hit at the back of his head. It affected his nervous system. So I'll give you an example. We take this for granted, right? Lifting this up and down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us amazing abilities. This, a lot of us do by even thinking. That brother, throughout his whole life, does this without even thinking. Then that one night, he got into an incident. Allah Jalla wa Ala, took away his ability to do this. Rather, he was like this. And it breaks down in tears. Month of Ramadan. So I've gone up and I've seen him, and then the doctors, just as I walked up, and there was a police officer in the room, and the doctor said, it seems like this is going to be permanent. The brother was finished. His soul was shattered. And this brother just couldn't comprehend how that his life was going to have to change for the rest of his life. And he knew that probably because of the sins of not fasting, smoking, drinking, especially in the month of Ramadan, this was his punishment. And I couldn't say it was or it wasn't. And my colleague just couldn't put the maths together. She couldn't understand why he was more shattered than he was. Than the regular person, they'll be broken, but he was broken, man. So I went in and I said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah doesn't burden the soul more than it can bear. Then he cried even more. And he grabbed my hand. And he's like, Akhi, help me. Help me, please. I'm not a medical specialist. I'm not a doctor. But I could feel the brother's pain. I could feel the fact that he realized that all of this stuff he was doing day to day, he forgot about Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the roads was his lifestyle, didn't amount to anything, and the amount of regret that he had inside him was painful. The police officer was looking like, what in the world did you say in Arabic to him to make him cry even more? Because he's hysterical now. And then my colleague said, alright, Kareem, I'm going to leave you with him because I can see you've got a bond here that I don't understand. And that's the bond of akhuwa, brotherhood. And he was like, Abdul Kareem, like, help me, man, what am I going to do? Like, I'm like this forever. And I said, actually, don't worry. You recognized that you were sinful. You can change. I can't help you physically, but you can help yourself from henceforth. This is a sign from Allah. But if you continue, it might be even worse. And he goes, yeah. He said, I'm going to start fasting tomorrow. I said, Akhi, that don't make any sense. You're in hospital now. Like, this is your sick, so you're excused. You've got your niyyah, but you're excused. So inshallah ta'ala, Allah ruled you for intention. At least you want to, but you're sick. So get better first, and we can look at that. He goes, Abdul Karim, what can I do? How can I get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What can I do? I said, well, this is the month of Ramadan. This is the month of the Quran. Can you read? And he goes, Akhi, look at my race. I'm not going to say race, but I can read. So, I brought in the Mus'haf. When he grabbed it, he kissed it straight away. So he shows he had love for Islam, his love for the Quran. He kissed it and he grabbed my hand even tighter, like to say thank you. And it's not me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the iman in his chest. It's not me at all. But my colleague just couldn't understand why this guy, even though he had this bad news, every time something about Islam was mentioned, he would melt even more. And he started reading Quran and reading Quran and reading Quran. I went to visit him a week later, because he stayed in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I went to visit him a week later. He wasn't in his room, and I was confused. Like, where's this brother gone? Where the heck is he gone? Like, what's going on? Saw him downstairs, walking. I'm like, It's not made no sense. He goes, I'm getting better. The doctor said I'm getting better. Wallahi al-Azim, couldn't believe it. He says, from this day forth, no more roads. But he went about from, let's say, doing this to this. Do you know how grateful he was? Do you know how grateful he is? Something as simple as holding a bottle. The brother was elated. His soul was glowing because he thought that a ni'mah, a blessing that he takes for granted every single day, of the strength that we use to do menial things like holding bottles, picking up our phone, walking around, Allah was giving it to him back. And he believes from the Quran because he was reading the Quran more. Alhamdulillah, he got to about 85% capacity of what he thought he would never have. Remember the doctor said to him? Permanent. And this brother here, he said, Wallah, he started reflecting, all of what I was doing, the drinking, the smoking, the gangs, the streets, all of it, when it comes down to my health, my body, means nothing. Nothing. He realized when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him, doesn't mean anything. And there's a lesson that all of us, whether we're on the streets or not, can learn. Including myself, I need to remind myself. I'm going to do it again. Effortless. Effortless. On a day-to-day basis, I see people, Muslims, not just talking about the non-Muslims, Muslims unable to do this. This brother, alhamdulillah, he was discharged from hospital. We sorted some stuff out for him. And he wrote us a letter. And he said he's back in the masjid. He's left it all off. And he's going to practice his deen. I haven't heard from him since. But that story just shows some of the things that I see. Now, I believe that this brother here, had he not been tested, he may never have come back on deen. Allahu A'lam. But for us, and for me narrating this story, we learn, as there's a saying in Jamaica, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man learns from other people's. So I look at that, and we should all look at that and say, you know what? I don't want it to get to that where I can't even hold a bottle. I can't even make my way to the toilet without help before I fix up. And I ask you that this story here, if you're able to communicate that to a friend of yours who you know might be struggling with Islam, might be on the roads, perhaps it may make him think. But this brother, alhamdulillah, from that incident, let me show you again. This is us on a normal day-to-day basis, alhamdulillah. This is what I saw. We gave him a pen, shaking, he couldn't write. This is something we can do. Alhamdulillah, from primary school, writing, that was a problem for him. He couldn't write. Alhamdulillah, you know, the Quran is known as the healer, Ash-Shifa, that's one name of the Quran. He read it, and I believe, this is my personal belief, that the Quran healed him in a month of mercy, in the month of Ramadan, and his life changed. Another brother, and for me, the work that I do is very traumatic. You know, I suffer from something called vicarious trauma. What that means is that I take on the trauma of other people, and I've got my 5 F's that I have to balance regularly in order to stay sane, because it's difficult. My faith, my Islam, my family, my friends, my finance, and my fitness. For me to stay normal every day, I have to balance those in order to make sure that all of this stuff that I see doesn't affect me, because I know a lot of people, they've done the job that I've done, 2 weeks gone. Another brother, so the reason why I tell you this, because another brother that I was working with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affected him with him being smashed by a car. And I met him in the hospital. I didn't know he was Muslim. Walked in, he never had a Muslim name, he was a revert brother. So the first brother, born Muslim. Second brother talking about, revert brother. So I walked in and remember the scene, this guy just lying on the bed, like just motionless. Like, wow, anyway, let's get cracking, let's find out what's going on. Spoke to his mum, spoke to some of the family members, and they were destroyed. So Adnan mentioned, you know, when we do things that are bad, the people who suffer, not just us, but our mothers. And there was no father there. So, you know, I introduced myself. I said, how you doing, guys? My name's Kareem. You know, Kareem Abdullah. I'm a youth worker. He looks up and he goes, and he had something called a tracheostomy. Anybody know what that is? Anyone know? Okay. Tracheostomy is a pipe that they put through your throat, through your trachea, your pipe here, and into your lungs to help you to breathe. They take it out, he dies. That affects your ability to speak. So another thing that we take for granted, us speaking. A ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this brother didn't have. So he's like, I'm Muslim. I'm looking at him like, whoa, is me? Yes, I am Muslim. The brother, subhanallah bihamdi, he forced himself to give salams. I was like, whoa, slow down. And I don't even think his family knew he was Muslim. He was like, Assalamu alaikum. Like, it was every fibre and muscle in his body to give me salams. And I looked at him like, you don't need to kind of, you know, like that. But I could feel that he wanted to connect with the Muslim brother that come to help him. And I felt bad. And I said, Akhi, don't worry, I'm here. I'll try and support you to the best of my ability. I think it was next day or 2 days later, I went to go and visit him. And it was before visiting hours. And I just remember him looking at me with his eyes wide open. Wide. I couldn't believe, I was thinking, what is going on? And he moved his hand and he asked me to hold his hand. And I held it and he gripped it with every piece of muscle and strength that he had. He didn't want me to let go. And he held me. I was thinking, what is going on? And all the nurses were around him, you know, doing this and doing that. And he's looking in my eyes and he just said, he can't speak, so he has an ABC chart. And he pointed out, I said, get the board. And he spelled out, I'm scared. If you know the history of this young man, to my knowledge, he's done a lot of things that aren't befitting of a Muslim. And he probably had a name in the street or in the community, but Allah's taken away his ability. And nurses, he's scared of nurses. He's scared of them helping him. The medical treatment that he's going to be getting from these people, he's scared because needles, pipes, prodding, pulling. Anyone been to the hospital and had the blood pressure taken? Put your hands up. You know that squeeze, right? Where they put that band on and they go petrified of that because of the pain that he's in. This young brother, may Allah, you know, grant him good health. He's stuck in his bed and cannot move or do anything for himself. Going to the toilet, urinating. All of these things we take for granted. He's unable to do himself. And the reason why I'm telling you this, because this is the reality of the streets. When they're saying stab, dip, shoot, gun, and everyone's singing that stuff and rapping that stuff, that's what it leads to. So it sounds beautiful until it happens to you. You're in that culture, you're celebrating, looking at man talking about how many people he shot and stabbed. And wallah, when it happens to them, they're crying. The brother was crying tears until, I don't know what happened, if all of the fluid in his body dried up, but he couldn't cry. Another blessing that we have, just tears come. He couldn't even do it. Then I witnessed something that would change my perception, and it affected me. I went home distraught. They tried to take his blood. They tried to put I forgot the name of the pipe in his veins, and they couldn't find it. They spent about 15 minutes stabbing, and they stabbed. He's looking at me, and the fear, the terror, the pain in the young brother's eyes was like, Abdul Karim, tell them to stop. They are hurting me. That's what the brother was going through. And in terms of his lifestyle, gang affiliated, attached to the streets, young Muslim. I've seen people from East Africa, so Somalis, Eritreans, Ethiopians, West Africa, you know, I've seen people from South Asia, the Caribbean. Violence doesn't have a culture specific target. It's indiscriminate. This lifestyle is indiscriminate. It will attack you, your brother, unfortunately even your sister. There's a guy that I worked with, and he said, Abdul Karim, in Manchester, I was one of the baddest men in Manchester. No one was greasy as me. I was like, alright, cool, that's a big thing to kind of tell me. But you see, no, made me stop. I need to get this right. He said, I've been stabbed over 20 times, I think he said. And I could make a mistake, but he's been stabbed a number of times. That didn't stop me. You know what made me stop being a bad man? When they raped my daughter. That was it for me. I looked at him and I said, how as a man are you going to stomach that? Do you know the hardest thing to stomach about that? The fact that it's his fault because of the evil that he'd done. And because he was in jail and the people who he had offended and violated couldn't get to him, his 9-year-old daughter was the target. And he has to live with that. So this thing of violence, as I said, is indiscriminate. It doesn't mean because I'm a bad man, I'm the only one that's going to be affected. It means that anyone can be affected in your family. And me, as a youth worker, I see things from an intricate level. And I'm sorry to be so graphic. May Allah bless the family for leaving. Maybe I was a bit too graphic. But I want to hammer this home. I want to hammer this home. And maybe it might not be you here. Maybe I'm preaching to the converted. But some of these stories that I'm telling you, I'm hoping you can share with someone who you may know it may affect their heart. But the things that these two eyes, Abdul Karim's two eyes have seen, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I know brothers, may Allah bless them, who they've come through the hospital and it's changed their life forever. A young man who came in, he's not going to be able to walk again. Stabbing, can't walk. Nerves shattered, severed, sorry. Boom, that's it. In an instant. So things we take for granted, writing, picking up things like this, walking around, talking with our friends, eating. I'll give you a scenario of this guy wasn't Muslim. But if this affected me so much in terms of just recognizing the ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. The young man, he was stabbed in his throat. Serious place to be stabbed. I thought he was going to die, but he survived, alhamdulillah. Wasn't Muslim, but alhamdulillah he survived. And I was working for him for a bit, and he was a bit, because he was unable to eat, he was groggy. They fed him through a tube, so he's unable to eat. This Caribbean guy, so he likes his, dumpling and fried chicken and jerk chicken and all them things there, but he was unable to eat that. And I forgot about him, but I went to go see him. But before I went to go see him, it was my lunch break. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get a soup. So I went to get a chicken soup, and anyone know Scotch bonnet? Yeah, it had Scotch bonnet in there, a lot of flavouring in there. Tasty, I enjoyed it, I'm not going to lie. Finished it, put it away, I walked to him, saw his eyes red. I was like, Ross, what have I done to offend this you? He goes, boy, you come around me with the food, smell so good, what are you dealing with? And I'm like, what? But his smell was so heightened because he hadn't eaten for weeks. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to smell, but because he hadn't eaten, when you're hungry and I'm hungry and someone comes through with some food, you know how your stomach bubbles up and you want to taste that food. And imagine not eating for, I think it was like a week and a half. You want to eat food. How that must smell. And he cussed the life out of me, but I understood his pain. What does that mean? The young man, he was involved in things he shouldn't be involved in. Selling drugs, robberies, all these types of things. But the blessing of eating food was taken away from him for a number of weeks, and him just smelling the food triggered him to a level of anger that it wasn't comprehensible, but it is comprehensible because he's hungry. Even though he's being fed by the drip, can't eat. But why am I told that story? Because we eat all the time. At home, mummy cooks. We go to chicken and chip shop. We go to the restaurant of our friends. We go to the local news agents and buy sneakers and Twix and all of these things. And we take these things for granted. But if you're involved in that lifestyle, and you end up with an injury that makes you go into the hospital, some of these things can be snatched away from you in an instant. And then the regret that you have, the anguish that you have because of the mistakes that you could have prevented but made, could change your life forever until you die. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to make you reflect and think. Everything you can do effortlessly, walk, talk, jump, run, squeeze, you know, all of these effortless things, see, do not take them for granted. They are blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of an evil action, Allah can take it away from you. And I'm not saying this because I'm pious or anything of that nature. No, I'm a sinner just like you guys. But I recognize the blessings that Allah has blessed me with. And I'm thankful for it. And the reason why I'm here is to try and do khair. Instead of doing evil in the community, I want to do good. I just want to do good. That's all I want to do for as long as possible, as long as Allah allows me. So that if I do lose this, I'm not going to be regretful that, oh, I went to go give a talk, I end up in a situation and now, you know, I can't use my arm anymore. Alhamdulillah, I went to the talk. I went to do something good, I lost my arm, is khair. But you've got young brothers like yourselves losing things that we take for granted, our hands, the ability to just squeeze by selling drugs, committing robberies, going from your area to another area to commit evil on people and then getting hurt themselves. These are some of the things that are happening. And the culture on the streets glamorizes it, makes it look alluring. The music, the bling bling, the money. But I tell you what, every young person I meet on the hospital, I ask them questions like, would you rather £1 million or the situation that you're in now? Or a healthy body? Everyone says health. Sometimes I ask some youths, you know, they might have more serious injuries. I say, what's the most important thing to you? Hey, brother, money. 9 times out of 10, everyone says money. I'm about my peas, I'm about my money. Cool. So I ask them, how much would you sell your taste buds for? Nothing. So you value taste buds over money? Yeah. Alright, how much is your left arm worth? How much? How much is it worth? Priceless. It's not worth nothing. How much is your mother worth? Why are you asking that question? Because you're going to put your mum through pain. If you go to prison, you're not going to have your mum. How much is worth? Priceless. So the things that Allah has given us, that we just really don't even think about, when Allah takes it away from us because of evil, how do you think every one of you have reacted? And you have to really think about that. I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to make you think and ponder and go away and tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't underestimate the bounty that Allah has given you, the favors of Allah has given you, because the streets will take it away from you, your freedom. Freedom, you know, people say freedom is a must, free so-and-so, free so-and-so. But when you do the homework, or why this individual's in prison, it's over something haram most of the time. Not all the time, most of the time it's over something haram. And I went to a youth offending institute about 3 months ago. Myself, about 4 other individuals. And the majority, we had about 30 people split up into 2 groups because the 2 wings weren't allowed in the same room because they would start fighting. So the first group, you know, they were younger, they were excited, they were hyped. You know, it was an event, it wasn't a Muslim event, so there was a young female there. She's pretty attractive and stuff. So all the guys, imagine you're in a prison, you know, you're with men all the time, and they see this poster, they were hyped. I'm coming to this thing, she's there, I just want to see her. Attractive young lady, but that brought them in. There we had someone who, you know, written a book. We had a mother who, she had lost her son to prison, and he's on IPP, so he's not coming for a long time, on joint enterprise. And maybe one day the brothers can invite me back and I can do a conversation. Joint enterprise, very serious thing. We need to know about stuff like joint enterprise. It can affect you in a serious way, but that's another discussion. And we had this panel, and like what Adnan said, you know, Muslims are in prison. Those Muslims are there. When they saw who I was and I said I was Muslim and the poem that I did, a lot of them came up after me and said, "Are you Muslim? When I come out, I want to link you." But their freedom, do you know what some of them said? We don't like to think about these things because when we're in our cell on our own, we have to think about some of this stuff and we cry. We have to think about this stuff and cry. So we don't want to think about it, but we're here today. So you don't hear, when you hear free so-and-so, my man's freedom is a must, all that rubbish. I thought it's rubbish. You don't hear the other side. Man's in this jail cell hungry because no one's sending them money for their canteen. They haven't got real friends. So when everyone's going buying their canteen, if they have, you know, a family member that might have a bit of wealth, a bit of money, they're on their own. They ain't got nothing. So they got like a little bit of noodle and a hot on a kettle, and that's it, and they're struggling. And they got hunger pains. There's no way to curb that. Or them getting hot oil dashed in their face, or hot water, all of these things that happen inside. It's not glamorous. These are dark things that we should be avoiding. If we're Muslims, we should be a shining light in our community. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So I'm going to leave it at that. If there's any questions that you want to ask me about the work that I do, or questions for Adnan, we'll leave it open. But that's just a short snapshot of some of the things that I've seen in my work as a youth worker, as someone who believes in, the community, the masajid taking ownership of their youth, bringing them to things like this and trying to develop it. Wallahi, Masjid Bilal, I envy this setting because I want it in my community more. In terms of the elders that I see here with the youth, it's something to recognize and be, for you to cherish. I'm not saying it to hype you up because I'm sitting on this platform. It's really good. And it's a model, it's best practice in terms of elders and youngers coming together for the sake of Allah to try and work out community issues. It's amazing. Because there's so many masajid in this country that don't believe they should be doing things like this. Addressing the things that their youth are going through, social issues. And for the masjid to be doing this on a regular basis. I mean, I came here, first time I came here was, I think, 2015, New Year's night. I think I came here. So you lot continuing this, may Allah bless this masjid. Bless this masjid with khair, with good. Bless this masjid to be upon the sunnah and pump the sunnah. Bless you, the youth in this community, to be upright and pious. And I'm being serious. It's really good, this. And not just because I'm here. And I would advise, the brothers who organise this, get people who are lawyers to come and sit here, or, doctors to come and sit here and tell their journey of how they became a doctor or a lawyer, how they set up their own business, not just people who are on the streets, because there are various people who have something to give and teach, And I'll leave it at that, inshallah ta'ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions regarding our stuff, or should we leave it at that? My worst case scenario, not in a hospital, my worst case scenario is a friend of mine, a young brother who I love dearly, who's dead to knife violence. It affected me so bad I couldn't go to work the next day because I had fear that he'll be in the hospital. This is a young brother who I believe I failed. And the reason why I believe I failed him because I knew what he was going through. I didn't do enough. I'm helping every single other young person, Muslim and non-Muslim, but this young man has been in my house. He's eating from my fridge, he's sat on my floor, I know his mother, I know his father, I know everything to do with him. He's dead. That's my worst case scenario. And it hurts every day. When I see his surname pop up, and it's not him, but when I'm at work and I see some of the same surname as him, sometimes I feel like to cry. Because I feel like I failed this young brother. Do you understand? So for me, this is deep, it runs in my, it's a deep pain. And that's why I'm here, because I believe if I can speak to you guys and someone changes, alhamdulillah. And this young brother, who I've got nothing but love for him, nothing but absolute love for him. He's passed away now. I carried him in terms of his janazah. I held his body. He was light. This young brother, may Allah forgive his sins. I held it. This is the first janazah that I did from start to end and organised. I held his body. It was light. I couldn't believe what I was like. This is my young friend who used to come to my house. He used to eat for my family. He used to eat. You understand? So it's a lot. But that's my worst case scenario. Any other questions? That's inshallah. We're going to wrap this up. If anyone wants to talk to me about how they can support me in a documentary, inshallah ta'ala, really, really, really would appreciate it. May Allah bless Masjid.
You know the masjid? You know the local masjid?
Do I know my local masjid?
You know your local masjid?
Yeah.
They support your organisation.
Now they're starting to listen. There was a bit of resistance, but alhamdulillah they're starting to listen now. So we're going to get some stuff off the ground. My local masjid, alhamdulillah. In the way how it worked, they weren't really down with it, but I think a few events have sparked off some conversation. So alhamdulillah, they'll be behind it somewhat, inshallah ta'ala. And that's why I'm really happy to see a masjid like Masjid Bilal. Just trust me, you don't understand. It's beautiful. Wallahi al-azim, it's beautiful. Inshallah. Oh yeah. Ad, you got some words?
You've said everything.
No poetry.
You said everything.
You got poetry.
I've got poetry.
Hey, yeah, you got some.
Man. I'm gonna make my debut or something.
This one. I don't know.
Sure.
You know it? Oh, you messed me up. Alright. See if I can remember something messed me up. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna do one. Has anyone here had my poetry before?
Yeah.
One. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do one relating to my youth work in Charlotte.
You don't want that.
Leave me alone now. Please listen. Not really, I mean listen. And put your prejudices aside, whether I have been subject to religious extremism or if I'm another black brother that's been in prison. Lend me your ears with your undivided attention, and then you will hear me. You see, I work at the sharp end of young people's lives, trying to deter them from being at the sharp end of other young people's knives. Where block goons back out the strap out, clap out and dash out, leave a young man down with gunshot wounds. Where the code of the street is, if I see you on road and it's beef, I won't even speak. Just unload my machine till the cold and deceased, your soul is so cheap. I bet you're hearing me now. I told you I work at the sharp end of young people's lives, and I've come to understand the harsh reality. Many more young people will die because everything is personal when it ends. Where a simple cursing between friends results in the bursting of a skeng, then the hearsing of that friend, forcing one side to ride out and the other side riding, spiraling in a circle of revenge. As a community, aren't we mortified that the music and culture we celebrate glorifies the murder and destruction of our youth, which is supported by the corporates who profit off these artists' distorted minds? Gun talk, rape, drug talk, hate, dumb wars, plague, continuously the same place where young people's thoughts reside. What are we doing to keep our young people's minds fortified? I work at the sharp end of young people's lives. What are we doing as a community to combat guns, beef and crime? Now let me tell you about Jamal who's 19. People said Jamal's as cold as ice cream. Jamal had a gun as he knows he might see. Someone that is robbed he knows he might beef. Rolling in his whip, pulled up by the lights, he was smoking on the split. Music high, so this in the drift. Smash! His side window is in bits. He's in shock, his heart pulls. He's got reaction, let me lock the car doors. Who wants to beef? Who wants to start war? If I see his face, my Glock will blast forth. He looked beside him, coming through the alley. 3 men dressed in black, covered up in valleys. Before we could drive up, he heard, now, now, now. 3 shots fired. Pow, pow, pow. Jamal, killed in his front seat. Rumour has its murderers are still in the country. I work at the sharp end of young people's lives. What are we doing as a community to combat guns, beef and crime? A little more about Jamal who's 19. People said Jamal's as cold as ice cream, but Jamal had the goal to follow his live stream. So he started making moves to go into IT. He left off the robbing and shotting and hype beef, but he still carried a gun, as he knew he might see someone that is robbery and knows he might beef. He got himself a mentor, someone to guide him. A brother from the mosque who was there beside him, someone who understood the pain inside him, someone he could trust and could confide in. The mosque, he started attending it. He got an interview for an IT apprenticeship, booked a trip to go Mecca with a friend of his. This changed from guidance and mentorship. On the way back from his IT interview, to celebrate, okay, he smoked a spliff or 2. He tried to stop, but due to life's elevation, prayer, music and drugs was a celebration. As he pulled up in his car at the traffic lights, 3 men ended his life as he sat inside. The way in which Jamal was murdered was horrific, but the U-turn he made in his life was terrific. But when death comes knocking, it's part of our destiny. It's a damn shame in Jamal's case. His murder was a case of mistaken identity. Jazakallah khair.